Hey, Ralph, thank you for coming in. You have a great, distinguished background over decades of contributing in so many different ways. And we're going to mine some of that experience. And of course, you've got this research and the guidance, which is just an amazing platform for the broader community. So thank you for coming in and sharing your insights with my audience.
Thank you for having me.
So, Ralph, my audience consists of like millions of or organizations with millions of scientists, but also CEOs and investors and government officials and things like that. And they're always curious about people's life's journey. So what are the, 2 to 3 inflection points in your life that made you who you are today? And it could have been when you were 3 or 5 years old. It could have been
Hmm.
when you were older. In fact, I just did an interview with a serial CEO of some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And it happened to be, and he's public with this, it happened to be a paper route he had that way he came from a single mom family, and that was transformational for him. So it could be something like that, right? But it could be mentors you had both inside outside the family. Could be in some early jobs. What are those maybe three areas that really shaped you to this marvelous person you are today?
Oh, thank you very much. So you're very polite. So when I look at myself, and how did I get to this point where I am? I would say I have 4 kids, so I guess that's what shaped me a lot. Yeah, and still shaping me, keeping me young. That's definitely one point. And the other is more something which I always wanted to do. I wanted to become my own. I wanted to create something on my own, an own business, yeah, an own something where I can really work on my ideas and implement my ideas. Yeah, so that's the other thing. Yeah, and this is driving me. Yeah, so both my kids, but also the company I'm heading, and I founded 15 years ago.
Okay, so having your children was a momentous part of your life, and then founding and managing this company, research and guidance, this has been a momentous point in your life as well, because you're kind of can shape that journey, that narrative of where it's going to go forward. I'm just going to go a little bit back in time to what shaped you to take on some of the early parts of your career. So, I mean, you got Cap Gemini in your background, Gemini Consulting. You did studies at TU Berlin. When you were really young, were you interested in, like, what were you interested in when you were 10 years old or 12 years old?
Yeah. I mean, when I was 10, 12 years old, the only thing I was interested in was soccer. So I was really a huge fan of playing soccer, and I did it every day. And at one point of time, I even wanted to become a pro. Yeah, but so that was what really kept me busy at that age. And then you were asking, why did I choose my career? So I always was interested in, on the one hand side, in technology, but also on the business side of it. So that's where it all started. Yeah, so I always wanted to understand both and then make something out of it. Yeah, so therefore I studied basically technology and business administration. And yeah, so that was always interest driven. Yeah, so there was no other goal in this, but this is what I wanted to learn and what I wanted to work in. Yeah, and then I started, yeah, with a classical consulting company career, and yeah, to have all this flexibility, to make use of all the things which I got stuck in my head, and yeah, I had a lot of opportunities to make use of all the things which I read in books and learned in courses, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so um, that was one of the reasons why I chose to become a consultant right after university. It was also obviously, yeah, to have this lifestyle of a consultant, yeah, to travel a lot, yeah, to meet a lot of interesting clients, to work with super smart colleagues, to have this fast-paced life. So that's also something which I wanted.
Okay, so I could see now, I mean, you had the sports interest, which is interesting, and even maybe being a professional soccer player, and then you study business and technology, and because you always had this interest in business, and then you end up in consulting, but and you're consulting in the telecom and media industry globally, and you like this idea of traveling, and you end up with Capgemini, right? So Gemini Consulting and Capgemini Telecom Media Networks, where you led the mobile expert team, and in leadership in those roles. So what did you learn from that experience? And I guess that really shaped you to when you then founded Research to Guidance, and of course you got the R2G Connect global matching platform as well.
Yeah. So obviously I was able to learn a lot from also my colleagues, from my clients, and I also learned a lot of how to do projects. So that's something which you really learn when you work at a consulting company. So that really shaped basically my competency area. And this is also what I was using when I founded Research to Guidance. And I wanted to use that and build my own consulting company. And at a time when Google and Apple, they started to create this ecosystem of you have a device, you have a platform, you have apps, and so on. And at that time, that was really something really new. And we thought, together with two other founders, and we thought, okay, this is the area where we can answer a lot of questions, and with our competency of delivering projects. So we saw that this is a very good market. We started a bit broader than we are today. So we consulted, I don't know, Microsoft, BlackBerry, and they had questions. Can we do something else? Can we do something similar? How are our activities performing against the things Google and Apple were doing at that point of time, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so we did a lot of work there, but then things became so complex that we had to decide on a certain industry. And then we quickly decided to work only on healthcare. So we wanted to basically merge the two industries, the technology industry, which was created, or this ecosystem, which was created by Google and Apple, with the healthcare industry. And that's still our niche. So that's where we are. And we also thought about it in a way, okay, we can work on projects that eventually are supposed to help human beings by having a solution which helps to diagnose better, or to treat better, or to manage the lifestyle better, and to stay healthy, or so that's basically always somewhere at the core of our work, rather than working for, I don't know, for banks or for automotive industries, which by no means are also fantastic industries, but we wanted to spend our time more on those projects rather than, I don't know, doing something for other industries. So that's why we ended up basically in becoming this niche and boutique consulting analyst company, which was, I would say, one of the first consulting and analyst company just concentrating on this whole digital health tech industry, and started really to elaborate what can be done with the help of this technology in healthcare. So that was something which we were really fascinated of, and which keeps us basically busy since then.
So, I mean, you have research and guidance, and you're a leading market analyst and strategy consultant for specializing in global digital health. And so you're advising healthcare companies, right, on their strategy, startups as well, on how to use digital technologies, realize what the market opportunities are, developing solutions that work and that can help people in their lives. Are you focused in any particular region or global in your work?
No, I mean, the scope of the project really depends on the basically the questions our partners have. Yeah? So it could be a global scope. So what is, for example, the potential of digital companion solutions for myopia? So is there a market or not? What is the potential of digital diabetes, GLP-1 companion solutions? Is there a market for it? How do you make money? Is Europe a market for this, or should we go to China? So these are the questions which we deal with. It's mainly how to make a business out of all this kind of technology, finding the right markets, making recommendations for the value propositions, and for the teams that are actually that will be responsible for delivering of all those services. So that's basically what we concentrate on. It could be global, but it could be also just concentrated on one country, for example.
I guess you're in the healthcare space then. Are you seeing certain regions like India and Africa increasing in terms of their digitization in the healthcare space, or are you finding you don't see as much from those regions?
I mean, for India, it's there's a huge base of talents and of companies that are coming up with great solutions. So there's a lot of dynamic in this market. And for Africa, there are lots of talents as well, but because of infrastructure gaps in terms of investors, industry partners, they have a bit more harder time to scale up and to become really visible with their solutions. But India is definitely a continent or a country which is becoming more and more relevant for all healthcare players globally, looking at what sort of solutions are coming out of this country. So there are great solutions out there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, usually when I do these interviews, I kind of brainstorm too. I can't recall, have I introduced you to Chok Valiappa in...
No, not that I can recall this.
Yeah, and
No.
he's working on a population health program, so I'm thinking that he'd be a good person to get in touch with it. And I've done an interview with Chocko as well. Chocko also has this V technology platform, which is one of the largest healthcare platforms. And it's actually throughout America. It's one of the biggest American platforms, but it's based out of India, right? So definitely I could see synergies between what you're doing and what he's doing. But you created this entrepreneurial venture platform. Can you talk about this R2G Connect? And that was in 2022. What do you hope to achieve by that?
Yeah. So in our projects, we at one point of time, we were asked, okay, now that you told us, or we together decided of what is possible for us in health tech, can you also help us finding the partner to work with? Can you help us finding a digital neurology solution, which already has got all the features, all the services which we want to have in order to promote our drugs, for example, so that we don't have to do it ourselves. So we came across quite in quite a few of our projects to that question. And so therefore the team was then investigating those solutions out there over and over again, and they started to capture all the things that they researched in a database. And then just to make it easier, the next time there was a similar question coming up to have all the data at hand. So that was the intention originally, to form this database or this community was for internal purposes. But then we decided that, there's a need, a large need from other corporates to scout and find their next innovation partner. So we opened it up to everybody. They can use it to find their next innovation partner in a co-development project, or in a pilot project, or for the acceleration programs. It's just super easy. They just have to say what they're looking for, and then the health tech community is then basically raising their hand by applying to those what we call open calls, and then the industry partners, they can select basically with whom they want to go ahead. And so it became a really huge matching platform, bringing both sides together, bringing investors together with health tech companies, bringing hospitals together with health tech companies, bringing pharma together with health tech companies. So helping basically by mitigating partnerships and investments. So that's what RDG Connect is all about, and it's global. It's a global initiative.
So that's a really interesting platform you created within this research to guidance ecosystem and company that you have. And I can see why there's maybe a great value to entrepreneurs, right? But also to corporates and other players in the system, particularly in healthcare, because you're doing global matchmaking. Excuse me. Are you using AI in that matchmaking, or more traditional kind of technology to do the matchmaking?
No, of course. Everybody is now not forced, but everybody is now experimenting how to best benefit from this technology, and so do we. So we are using AI to make the evaluation of the health tech companies easier and faster for all the industry partners that make use of our platform. So that's where we are using it now. We are continuing experimenting with other use cases where the technology can really be of great help. We always have to think about, is the quality okay? Does it produce meaningful results? And this is what is always the biggest challenge at the moment. The technology is great, but if you don't have the right content to base the technology on, then the results are also not that good. So we are constantly testing. But of course, we have started to implement AI on the platform, but we also implemented AI in our classical consultancy projects. So it's basically, it's a daily tool, or it's a tool which we use on a daily basis.
So that's really interesting. I mean, because you founded Research to Guidance, and it's been a while now. So, and you created this amazing capability there, and then you decided to say, hey, there's a whole sector where we're doing all of this repeat work. Why don't we create some technology to make it easier as well, right? how many, or are you able to sort of give out like how many people or companies are in your platform, or are you able to divulge that in sort of a general sense? Of how do you hope to grow it? Are you partnered with Microsoft on this? Microsoft has something called Microsoft for Startups, for example, and they
Yeah,
have a particularly area on health and life sciences. And but NVIDIA would have this. Go, I mean, like everybody would be interested in working
yeah,
with this kind of system, right? I mean,
yeah.
are you partnering with some of the people out there?
Yeah, Microsoft is using it. Yeah, they also use it, yeah, to find their next innovation partners in health tech. I mean, I must say we are really 100% focused on health tech, and Microsoft has a much broader scope. So, but they are using the platform to identify innovation partners in health tech, and yes, and so do other companies, are like Novartis, Merck, those big pharma companies. I think most of the top 10, yeah, they are using the platform already to scout innovation partners for whatever initiative they want to partner with a health tech company. And we have, I would say, I haven't counted them, but I think almost 300 industry partners are already using it. Yeah. Some of them, they are smaller, but then we have also those big names on the platform making use of it. Yeah, because um, it's a different thing. Yeah, if you maybe just use a database, yeah, and then you have your, I don't know, somebody from your team going through the database of all the health tech companies, and then you say, okay, this might be a fit for my program. And then, yeah, you reach out to this company, and after maybe 3 or 4 emails, yeah, you find out that they have no interest, or they don't run this company anymore, or the data you have in the database is outdated, or whatsoever. So when Microsoft is placing an open call, what they get are applications, yeah, from those founders, yeah, of the companies, yeah, and they are most actual. They have all the relevant data, yeah, and they are willing to partner under the conditions that are being described in the open call from Microsoft, for example. Yeah, so that streamlines the whole process of innovation scouting a lot. Yeah? And then you only work with companies that are really willing, to partner with you under the conditions, yeah, you have described.
I see. So really, it's a really pre-vetted community that's in our R2G Connect. So you're not wasting time. It's kind of reminds me of there's an organization called YPO. It's kind of like this
Yeah,
private CEO organization. And the only reason I could talk about it because I've interviewed so many of them, and so they talk about it. But there's this kind of mandate that if somebody reaches out to you, you're kind of like required to reply. Because it's like a policy. So it sounds like you got this highly pre-vetted quality system where you got technology backing it, including AI. So somebody can make a call for some particular requirement, and you're going to get responses from people who've been pre-qualified already, right? So to get into your platform. So so there must be some kind of a fee then, right? Subscription. How does that work?
yeah. So at the moment, we just want to make this platform grow. So we have only little fees for the ones who are using the platform to search for innovation partners. So the health tech company itself, they don't have to pay. All the other ones, they have to pay a little fee in order to use it, to pay for the team who is managing the platform.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I am I'm guessing here. I know that last year Microsoft had about 20,000 startups in their Microsoft for Startups. But I imagine it'll be well over 100,000 now. It's really, really growing. And I mean, it would be of value for them to be in this platform, right? Because you got everybody. You got the the buyers of the product, the buyers of their solutions, right? Investors in their solutions, things like that as well. So, and you've got such a great background that you would take that background and infuse your DNA into R2G Connect. So I can see why Sally connected us.
Okay. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much. Yeah. Mhm.
So, in fact, I can see that being such a great service to people. And like you say, you're trying to keep the fees modest and things like that. Um, and in turn, it provides such a great service. I'm thinking of others that I should connect you with afterwards that I, explore doing more with them. Uh, in fact, are you part of that organization, YPO, or some of these others?
No, I'm not. No. Um, no, I'm busy, yeah, in managing those two companies or those two initiatives on my end. Yeah. So that I'm 100% focused, yeah, on those two things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking too, there's the ITU and their AI for Good, maybe doing some kind of partnership with them because they're continually holding these open calls for startups and then they get pre-vetted and then you do pitches. But you've got a great platform to take them on into their journey, continuation of their journey. The World Food Program has the largest accelerator program in the world today in humanitarian food, climate, logistics, things like that. They have startups in there. Two of them won the Earthshot Prize. Again, they should be in your R2G Connect. And there's always a healthcare element within what they do because healthcare is related to food. I'm just,
Yeah, I think that would totally makes sense. So we are happy to onboard all those institutions, yeah, as long as they keep in mind, yeah, that this is health tech, yeah, and health tech, but could also mean you are getting in touch, yeah, with innovation partners that, for example, change behavior or eating behavior, eating habits. Yeah, so and you can say, is that health? Yes, of course it's health, but it's also maybe lifestyle. Yeah, it relates to nutrition. Yeah, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so yeah, it already expands into other industries. It's not classical medical support. It goes beyond. It's and all um, this aging, healthy aging thing is becoming really big. Also on our platform, lots of solutions are there and taking care of how do we age better, yeah, and stay healthy. So that's also a huge trend at the moment. Yeah, so it's not just only medical. It's not only solutions for hospitals or for doctors. Yeah, it's also for us as a human being to stay healthy, basically.
yeah. And then there's like the World Innovation Technology Services Alliance. They have a startup ecosystem program. They're the largest industry alliance. They represent 90% of big tech. And I know because I keynoted their last conference and I judged their inaugural World Cup. And there was health tech with embedded in the finalists. Um, so I could see doing some kind of partnership with that organization. Um, I could also see with IEEE, they've got an entrepreneurship program, a formal one. In fact, I've been keynoting all of their conferences or speaking at them. And yeah, I'm just kind of brainstorming with you. I think they'd be good to explore partnering with you because they see so much, but then you got this sort of follow-on program that works so well with these different programs that I'm in. YPO would be another. They're a private community of 36,000 CEOs. I guess there's probably 4,000 in healthcare in there. And what you're doing would be of good value to them. EO is another organization, entrepreneurship organization. I mean, if I sat
Yeah.
down, I could probably think of over 100 that are in my network that I think would be of value to you. I I love what you got. I can see the value.
Thanks a
Um,
lot. Yeah, we should definitely have a follow-up call. That's that's for sure. Yeah, if
I
you like. Yeah, so I would love to find out how, if and how there's an option here to make other organizations also benefit here from this community when they're interested in health tech.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many CEO organizations. I'm part of another one called CEO Leadership Alliance, and there are CEOs in there, but there tend to be multinationals and things like that.
Mm.
Um, Sovereign funds would be interested in what you're doing. Sovereign funding principles.
Mhm.
Um, okay, I mean, I do this pro bono, so I'll proliferate to my network what you're doing and direct them to you. So you may see inbound through LinkedIn, like that, saying, "Hey, we saw Stephen was suggesting we should connect or something." So, and then I'll do emails as well. In April, I'm got some heavy workload right now, but in April I'll put this down as a follow-up item. So we've explored your early journey, right? Inflection points like your children, inflection points like starting this research to guidance where you wanted to manage how you realized your vision. And then we went earlier into your life where you were interested in business and tech. So you got education in this area, then you worked as a consultant for Gemini and also for Capgemini, which and in telecom and media. Um, but when you started your research to guidance, you were broader, but then you realize there's this huge opportunity in kind of narrowing that focus, and now you're the top sort of marketing analyst, strategy consulting firm in digital health, and of course digital health exploded after COVID, right? As with this realization that you're going to have to embed more and more tech into things. And so you've been advising the largest healthcare companies and startups on adopting digital and looking for market opportunities, helping them in their journey. And then you thought, you know what, we're doing so much work on the side and we're repeating the work and we've got this database. Why don't we instantiate this into a tool, a platform called R2G Connect, which is this matchmaking platform for the healthcare industry and fancy health, digital health initiatives. So I can see how this evolution has occurred. Okay, now let's talk about the kind of where you see the marketplace today and then the future. You have an AI, you have an AI embedded in your consulting, you have it embedded into your platform, R2G Connect. Do you think we're seeing elements of AGI? Do you think we're going to get ASI within the near term? Do you think that agentic is heading there? I've got a lot of series of questions. Are you playing with some of the uh, deep research tools? What do you think of some of the open source that's coming out? For example, Meta, of course, have been there a long time. And then you see these like DeepSeek. Now they got R2 they're going to work on. You've got Alibaba Quinn, and then they got Quinn with questions. So there's Google and Gemini, and they've got a deep research tool there. So there's kind of seems to this proliferation of agentic um, research tools where you just give it a task and it just goes out and does it. And then you saw all this hoopla about excitement over Manus, right? But controversy as well. And then Anthropic, of course, there see some statements out of Anthropic and their CEO. And I recommend the audience should go direct. I'm just kind of brainstorming here, but I believe they're saying that it can handle like 90% of all coding, maybe even this year or something like that, right? So a lot of ideas out there. Where do you see this going? Are you sort of more believe that this is going to become just amazing, or do you think that amazing maybe is still 10 years out?
Uh, I mean, I think it is already amazing in some areas, in some use cases in medical. So it's already amazing in a way how it helps, for example, in the imaging industry, to analyze huge amount of images here and to produce recommendations, not diagnosis, but recommendations for the doctors using those technologies. So it's already in the industry, so it's already there. It's already part of the normal life of some of the doctors. So I think there's no question whether or not it will transform the way parts of the healthcare system delivers their services. So I have no doubt about it. The question is the roadmap to there, to get there. So where to start, and then where is the quality good enough in terms of the results that are being produced, in order to have a reliable outcome, of the recommendation from a diagnosis, or from for a treatment plan, and so on and so forth. So that might take a while. How long? I think technology will be there. I mean, very, very fast. Implementation in healthcare takes always a long time.
The regulatory, right? There's always the regulatory concerns, right?
Is always a regulatory, So and here I think most of the AI tools, they still have to prove, that they can repeat their results, and if they reach the quality, but are they able to constantly repeat the same quality of the results they provide? So there's still some way to go, but it is what it is. But there will be smart solutions out there, and everybody in healthcare is now experimenting, finding use cases, and maybe the phase of finding use cases where AI could play a role is already over. Most of the companies, they have already identified those to start with, and now it's finding the right tool, experimenting, and then creating their own solutions, and then starting to implement it, and then still they might have an MVP, for a tool that helps a clinic to come up with a treatment plan, and to save a lot of time creating this, but then until it is really implemented on a larger scale, so that it's not only the team members, of the team that did it, but it's also the next colleague, even in the same hospital or another hospital, if you make a product out of this. So that really takes time, because it's in essence, it's such a complex technology, and people still tend to try to understand how it works and how it produces the results. And here, I think there is a lot of work that technology providers have to do in order to make that transparent, and repeatable, so that people like you and me, we look at the results, we look at the tools, and then we get an idea. Okay, we understand somehow how it produces the results. And there is still a lot of work, I think, to be done in order to have those tools, which work on the technology side, but to have them implemented on a larger scale. So to your question, how long does it take? I think implementation will take still a long time, but technology and lots of announcement about new advances in technology, they will be tomorrow. And so the hype will last, and then we will gradually see that AI is going to be implemented for certain use cases more and more. And yeah, but I think it's a super technology, and it will really change the way healthcare is being delivered to a large extent.
Yeah, I mean, I've been coding it since I was like 8 or something, since I was really young. I built a computer when I was 10, right? And because I'm older, that's back in 1965. So, when I look at the tools that were available then, I was actually coding in machine code, like literally, right? And then assembler like was a big step. And now let me take you to March 2025, and I look at Azure AI services, and I look at the Microsoft Machine Learning Studio, and I look at the Azure AI Foundry and trustworthy services, and it's like magic. You can literally, the interface is just so rich with the capabilities, and then of course, I mean, judging things like the Imagine Cup, which is part of Microsoft, and you get these kids like they're 12 years old and they're or 14, 15, and they're producing things because the tools are just so accessible, right? And the Magic Cup is part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and then in the Microsoft for startups, they're actively using the Azure AI services and the AI Foundry and the machine learning capabilities, tools and stuff that are part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and it's just amazing what they're doing.
Mm.
So
Yeah, you're right, and I mean this is really great, and I think the level of innovation, implemented innovation at that stage is already here. But then you have a product, and then it has to pass for some notified bodies. Yeah, so those organizations, which, I mean, most of them, they are struggling yet to not understand, but to deal with digital diagnostic tools as they are today. And then there is this new AI-driven, empowered image recognition or a diagnostic tool, and so on. And they have to understand, I mean, how do they produce the results? And it's super complex. And then they will take their time. They would try to understand. They have to understand it in order to say, okay, this is a secure medical device. And so they have to pass all those entities on the way to get a medical product or to get out and recognized as a safe product. And this will take a time. And so that's somehow part of the bottleneck.
yeah, I mean, I can understand this. I mean, there's radiology solutions have been out there using AI since 2008, and it still hasn't been widely adopted, right? It's just now maybe penetrating a little bit further. So, well, you're in the perfect space to see what's happening. Do you poke around or look at quantum computing at all? Because it could have ramifications in healthcare. Do you look at these, like Microsoft has this thing called quantum elements, Microsoft Azure quantum elements? They may have renamed it now, but it's sort of this combination of high performance computing with AI and machine learning. And then as quantum computing becomes more viable and become more integrated into the system, do you look at those kinds of things, or is it too early from your standpoint?
I mean, I think most of the topics that we are dealing with, they are more, what I say, so they are closer to the actual business. So can we use digital solutions, digital tools, technologies here to support our drug sales? And then usually the solutions we are then looking at, or the business models we are looking at, and so on, the technology we are looking at, they usually they wouldn't need those most advanced technologies here, supercomputing, advanced computing, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but it's more. It's more, can we use technology to change behavior, to increase adherence, retention, to have a smoother onboarding of patients in clinical trials, to have a more easy patient recognition, identification for clinical trials, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so these are the business concepts, which somehow work if you really define them correctly, and then you can actually achieve something. You have a result. You have a real impact for your business, either as a DTX solution or as a companion solution, or as a solution which helps you to make processes more efficient. Then you have immediately benefit from it. And I guess the supercomputing technologies, they are great to support evidence creation or research projects. But usually when we engage with our clients, they have more the business kind of questions. Can we make money with those technologies? And then it's already being either implemented on the basis of a supercomputer, or it doesn't need it because they still have to create the user base right from scratch, or and they don't really need supercomputing power to perform their services.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is people get supercomputing power without even knowing it now, because it's all part of the cloud, right? Or you saw NVIDIA releasing they renamed their digits computer now to Spark and then Station. For like $3,000, you can get a petaflops laptop for $3,000. I mean, that's incredible, right? So that completes my interview, and I only have one last question. And the last question is, what recommendations would you want to give the audience, and/or questions to the audience?
I mean, what sort of recommendation? I mean, I would have a recommendation for the healthcare industry that we came across in our projects multiple times, that there's a lot of enthusiasm about making use of this new technology. And then in order to get the resources, get the budgets, but also get the teams committed to this project, then they are exaggerating the expectations. And then after a while, it's clear that the project lasts longer, the uptake is slower, and so on and so forth. And then they get into a discussion. Okay, but you promised me something else. And now I spend so much money on this project. I mean, health tech doesn't work. And then why should we continue doing this? And I think, and then the projects are a real danger. And then I've saw so many projects that were stopped just because of this reason. So what my recommendation would be to have more faith in telling, in really managing the expectations honestly. And there are many reasons why healthcare companies should invest in health tech innovation. And I think you can't do without. So if you look at it, from here in 5 years from now, and you would look back at your company and you haven't, I don't know, you haven't invested and learned in how you can benefit from health tech, then you would be really in trouble. So it's not a matter of making initial few US dollars of revenues or having the first 100,000 users the next 3 years. It's more that you understand this change, what the industry is going through as a change where you have to be part of, you have to learn, and then you have to grow with that. And it's not potentially a business which could compete, especially in pharma, with the margins and the sizes of a pharma company. So that's if you ask me for a recommendation. So be honest in what side of expectations you put out when you start a health tech project.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I've been in tech for so long, right? Like I said, since I was 10 years old. So I definitely understand that. And there's always your budget is always bigger. The time to do it is always like double. And so you got to set the expectations correctly, right? Because it always tends to run longer, not shorter. That's typical of tech and implementation. So it's good advice. So Ralf, thank you for coming in and sharing your incredible journey of success and thoughtful implementation and execution across so many different areas and very successfully, and continuing to do so for the future. So thank you for coming in and sharing your insights with my audience.
Thank you, Stephen, again for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.